G'day Internet, Max right here, and I have one of our favorite guests of the channel, Juan Via Verde. Juan, how you doing, buddy?
Max, how are you, my friend? Long time no see.
It's been a little bit. I think you're in Colombia. I'm back in Florida. We've been doing the whole vacation thing a little bit. Actually,
Yeah.
well, I'm not sure. You've been traveling. I've been vacationing. I'm not sure if you've been working or vacationing.
I never stopped working, and I'm working on some stuff right now, so it keeps me busy. But it's kind of vacation, half work. It ends next week, though. I'm flying back to Spain next week.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah.
All right then. Let's have a little bit of a catch up. I can't sit like that, or my
Yeah.
head disappears down the bottom of the video. Um,
Yeah.
so give me a little bit of a catch up. What's going on in the market? I think it's a fair way since we last spoke. I think Trump had just
Yeah.
won. Short-term
Yeah.
news was pretty bullish, but that played out. I'm not sure if we spoke since the kind of peaked out and came down the last little bit. But let's get a catch up. Where are
All
we?
right.
What's the state of the union?
State of the Union. Okay, so I do think the last time you and I spoke was after Trump had won. We were both bullish. I remember us doing the dance. I remember that. We did the dance
Okay.
on video, which was pretty cool. I don't know if we spoke after that because what happened between then and now is basically the market started screaming to me that it was going to top out. There's a number of reasons why, but basically there's two. One, my timing model, always. I'm going to get into that in a minute. The other thing was liquidity. When you and I spoke, liquidity, global liquidity, which is basically it leads crypto by about 3 months, 2.5 to 3 months.
Mhm.
When Trump won, liquidity was already starting to fall. In fact, Trump won in early November. In early October, liquidity started to go down. So I knew to expect a high sometime. I thought it was going to be maybe closer to like late January, early February, but I already knew that that was baked in because you can look at liquidity and know what crypto is going to do in 3 months. So liquidity was going down. Oh, sorry, hit something. Liquidity was going down when Trump won. So it was like a short-term catalyst. However, this fall in liquidity had to work its way into the market at that point, and it did in Q1. So Q1 starts, Trump gets inaugurated. I don't think that's a coincidence. He gets inaugurated, and then this slump in liquidity begins to work itself into the crypto market. By the way, spoiler alert, that has reversed. Liquidity is now going up. It started going up in January, which means crypto should start going up now in March. Regardless, when you and I spoke, we still had that correction to look forward to. That took place in January. The other thing was my timing model that tracks all the crypto cycles. There's an 80-day cycle within Bitcoin, within any crypto asset. But I look at Bitcoin mostly. Actually, the way I do market analysis, I just look at Bitcoin and then I extrapolate to the altcoins. I don't even look at the altcoins. If anybody reads my reports, it's just Bitcoin charts. I don't talk about the other stuff unless I have to, like to point out, hey, this looks more bullish than Bitcoin. This looks more bearish than Bitcoin. Speaking of which, the altcoins look like trash, absolute trash. I could use stronger language, but I don't want to. It's a family show. They look like trash, not Bitcoin. So about around late January, when Trump is about to get inaugurated, which I thought maybe buy the rumor, sell the news, liquidity was going down for months at this point, and it had to cause a crypto correction. So I was looking for that. Liquidity-induced crypto correction. Trump, buy the rumor, sell the news. I mean, the Trump trade is over by the time he's inaugurated. And then I have a crypto timing model that started signaling to me around, I think the exact date is like January 28. On January 28, my crypto timing and Bitcoin is at 100K, 98. People are still super bullish. I'm in Miami in late January. Everybody's partying. It was a Real Vision conference. I had people dressed as bananas. You're doing the banana zone thing. Everybody was dancing, and I'm like, man, this looks like a talk to me, a contrarian indicator. And sure enough, started to fall. People were livid when I told them at this conference because I told everybody, hey, I think it's coming down. And everybody was like, no, no. And I said, listen, my model hasn't confirmed it yet. But within the 3 days that this conference was taking place, my model confirmed the slump. It is a big correction. There's an 11-month cycle in crypto, and that showed that topped out in late January, according to my model. And so I knew to expect a big one. These 11-month corrections, they don't last 11 months, but they last for at least 2 or 3 months in a bull market. In a bear market, we're talking 2 months upside, 8 to 9 months downside. In this case, we're in a bull market, and the cycle was ending. So, okay, so we're going to fall between January and March. At the very least, it could fall all the way into April. That was my outlook. Then we went through this entire correction, and my outlook now is more upbeat. I think the correction is already almost over. Again, liquidity is one of the main reasons. It works with this lag. Liquidity bottomed out in January. That means we should be expecting a low in March. And my timing model is saying, hey, there may have been a low on March 11, but it's not confirmed. So I think we have some more work left to do here at these levels, like 80 to 90K, before Bitcoin can actually lift off into new highs. As for when that new high is going to take place, well, that breakout is going to take place probably May, June. The high is probably going to be in October. This is the outlook, at least so far, which tracks perfectly with the classic crypto four-year cycle that typically ends in Q4. So these crypto four-year cycles, the crypto bull markets, they typically end in Q4. The bear markets too usually end in Q4, January at the latest. So that tracks. So what I'm seeing now tracks with the classic four-year cycle pattern. But I will say this. This cycle has been super disappointing, at least for me. Two reasons why. Number one, the altcoins are, I mean, I'm not super exposed to altcoins at any given time. I am exposed during the bulk of a bull market. I will buy into some altcoins. I mostly trade Bitcoin. So the fact that altcoins were disappointing to me was a little surprising, but okay, fine. I mean, it can happen, I suppose. There's a reason I don't have a lot of exposure to that space. Very unpredictable. But the other thing is Bitcoin itself. This is probably its worst bull market. In fact, I don't think it exceeds 150K in this bull market. I don't think it has. There's just not enough time. If it breaks out between May and June, it has a few months to hit the high in October. How high is it going to go? People are calling for 250K. I don't think there's enough time for Bitcoin to do that, to get there. I think it stops shy of 200K. Like I said, I think it goes to 150K, which is great. I mean, we're like what, 80 some right now. It will probably double between now and the high, but that's just a double, Max. I mean, it used to be so much better. And I've seen people dismiss the bull market, saying, oh, 30% corrections are normal. What they're missing is that between those 30% corrections, Bitcoin would go up by several orders of magnitude, like 2, 3, 400, 500, 1,000%. Now we're not seeing that. We're seeing the 30% corrections fine, but then the rallies, 100%, 200% most. This is the weakest bull market we have seen. Now, I don't think it's a sign that things are changing. I just think that this, and I think you and I spoke about this, this has been a bad cycle because central banks were not printing aggressively. We need that money printing in order to have the aggressive, super strong crypto bull markets. We're just not seeing that. They hit the pause button in 22. The Fed has not really been there. The Fed needs to print in order for the other central banks to print. Otherwise, it gets them in trouble, especially the Chinese. They need to print. They can't because the Fed won't print. So we're in this situation where liquidity growth is tepid. I think it's the term, lukewarm. It's slight growth that tracks with the four-year cycle, but it's not as strong as it used to be. Now, is this the way it's going to be going forward? No, I don't think so. I think we're looking ahead at a possible recession in the United States and the rest of the world, probably in 26, maybe 27. Following that recession, we're probably going to have the type of money printing that fuels the type of crypto bull market that we all know and love. But this cycle, this specific cycle, feels like, that doesn't feel like, it is different. It has been different. And I can point to the anemic growth in global liquidity and say, hey, that's why this cycle has not been as strong as the others we've come to enjoy. Now, I think the next one, or maybe the one after that, is going to be as strong as the ones from the past. But this one, the one that's ending in 25, according to that four-year cycle pattern, this is as good as it's going to get, I think.
Is there any reason to think that global liquidity will come on a lot stronger before this cycle ends?
Not before the cycle ends, no. I don't think there's any reason. Inflation's still a problem. The cycle is about to end. And I think what's going to take for central banks to really pivot and get aggressive with expanding liquidity again, expanding their balance sheets, is you need a crisis. You need a big crisis. You need a 2008 style global financial crisis. You need the threat of deflation in order to get these guys to really pivot from, you know, tight liquidity conditions, just keeping things afloat, to no, we don't care. We throw out the baby with the bathwater and we print with like there's no tomorrow. In order to get them to shift their mindset, there needs to be a very, very compelling reason for them to do so. And I have not seen that. And this is why I've been worried. I don't know if I was super vocal about this, but throughout this bull market, I was worried that the Fed was just not changing their tune. Even though people said, I mean, I still see people like, I don't want to name any names, prominent figures in the crypto space calling for QE. And it's like, guys, QE is not going to happen because QE only happens when rates are at 0. Well, Jay Powell is keeping rates at 4. So before they do QE, they need to do a lot of rate cuts. They're not going to do like emergency rate cuts coupled with QE. I mean, they're just talking right now. They're just now starting to talking about tapering QT. So what the Fed is saying is, okay, we'll stop withdrawing money from this system in 25. Rates will stay where they are. We're not cutting. And people in the crypto space are saying, oh, QE's coming. No, it's not coming. I mean, yes, sure, at some point, I just wrote an article about this. Yeah, between now and 27, there's like $30 to $40 trillion of debt that needs to be rolled over. Hey, that's not going to happen without Fed money printing, without Fed support. It's not going to happen. So between now and 27, yes, we're going to have massive amounts of money printing. But is it going to happen before the cycle ends? No, I think that, before those monetary printing presses are fired up, we're going to get a crisis. And it's that crisis is going to get the Fed and other central banks to really pivot on their stance. And rightly so, because if you're facing the threat of global deflation, yes, you can print as a central bank. You have cover. It gives you cover to print. Right now, they just don't have the cover. Even if they want to do it, they can't. They can't look at, you know, straight into a camera and say, we're going to start printing now. Why? Because the stock market is now 15%. That's not a reason to print. I was never in the camp that said the Fed pivot, the Fed put the thing that triggers the Fed is a stock market correction. It's never a stock market correction. And I have said this publicly. Back in 2020, what got them in was the fact that the bond market was crashing. They didn't care about the stock market. Until the bond market started to crash, they did not care. We're not really seeing the bond market crash right now. Cracks are starting to form. I can see, you know, in the next 18 months, I can see a point where, yes, the pain threshold is crossed and these guys need to step back into the bond market to support it. I can see that. I can certainly see that happening, but not before things get a little worse from here. So I think, yeah, we're talking this money printing story, this QE story that's gonna come back. Yes, I think it's coming back. That's a story for the next crypto bull market, not this one. I know it sounds complicated, but the time frame is important here. That's why I do cycle analysis. I think for this cycle that's about to end in 25, forget it. QE is not coming. For the next cycle, yes, I think it's coming.
Okay. Very, very interesting. So at best, we're going to call this currently at 80 grand. You're saying you're calling 150, 160. So at best a 2x. That's a very, very sad. What would you call that? The boom year, right? The 4-year cycle. This is year 4. This is the very exciting year, and you're calling for a sad 2x. Gee, that's not worth getting out of bed for. That's pathetic.
Hey, I'll take it, especially with how bad it's been so far.
Okay. All right. That is very, very interesting. So I'm assuming with just a sad little 2x, there is no super exciting altcoin season. There's probably not. Is there an altcoin season at all?
So I'm not an altcoin expert. I'll say that right off the bat. Not an altcoin expert. Like I said, I do most of my work on Bitcoin. I am still looking forward, Max, to that 2x, by the way, because we haven't had that many of those in this bull market. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm starting to accumulate now during the lows, preparing for that 2x. Is personally what I'm doing. But as for the altcoin specifically, and maybe I'm completely wrong, okay? If I'm wrong about something, it's this. I don't think altcoin season is coming. I just don't think it's coming. Select altcoins might do great. In fact, I think they will. They almost certainly will. Not my area of expertise to find these diamonds in the rough, if you will. But broad-based altcoin season, I'm just a cycles analyst. And in order to inform my opinion, just look at what happened in the past. By this point in the 4-year cycle, we should have seen altcoin season already. The fact that we haven't seen it yet initially got me to think, okay, well, it's coming. It's right around the corner. Now I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think so. It's just there's too much liquidity. I just saw on Twitter, Meltem Demirors, I think is her name. I love her, great crypto analyst, and she was saying that there are $800 million of crypto unlocks every week. I don't know where she got this information from. Maybe it's every month. So I don't want to butcher her great analysis, but it's basically where is the money going to come from to absorb all of this liquidity? I think meme coins just destroy the altcoin space as a whole. I think select altcoins are still doing great. There's also a disconnect in the altcoins that I've started to notice. High quality projects have shitty altcoins. I mean, they launch a token, they call it the value token. Turns out that token just bleeds value. I'm talking Athena, for example, one of my favorite projects in this very sophisticated DeFi stuff. But the token itself sucks. Like if you want exposure to Athena, don't buy their token. There's another one, I think it's backed by BlackRock. It's called Usual Money. They are the ones who issued USD0, which is a stablecoin backed by T-bills. Great idea, great project. Even the website is amazing. Don't buy their token though. That thing is down like 90% already within the past 3 or 4 months. There is a disconnect between high quality projects that create a token and whether or not that token can benefit from the value building by the underlying protocol. In other words, these are not stocks. Like if you buy a stock and the company's doing great, stock typically goes up. I know it's not always the case, but typically you can expect that. But in crypto, there is this existential crisis that I've seen where great projects launch a token and the token just doesn't really track the value creation from the underlying protocol until that changes. Yeah, just don't see it. Like Ethereum itself, you could argue the fundamentals. I don't think they should have switched out of proof of work. I think you and I, Max, have talked about this. I think they should have stayed proof of work. In fact, when I pray to God every night, I ask for them to go back, just go back to proof of work. Go back to proof of work. Go back to what used to work for you guys, because Ethereum started bleeding value the moment they switched to proof of stakes. That aside from that, Ethereum's fundamentals are pretty solid right now. And yet it has had its worst bull market ever. Why?
Well, what?
Is it? I don't know. I don't even understand. I mean, I understand sentiment is in the tank. I understand that. I understand people are pissed off at Vitalik, at the foundation. I get all that. But Ethereum has never had such amazing ecosystem built around it. It's never been this good. Never. Why is the price still $2,000? I don't know. There's a disconnect between the value creation from the network and the token that supposedly represents that network. There is this disconnect. I don't know what's causing it. I can speculate as to why that is in the case of the altcoins. I think they just issue too many of these and there's not enough demand to absorb that supply. So I can make sense of that. By the way, there's tons of ways to make tons of money from that high issuance. This usual token, which you should absolutely stay away from, it pays 150% per year in token unlocks. So if you can hedge the principal and get those unlocked and hedge that too, you can make some money from that. But you should not buy the token. As for Ethereum, I don't know. I think if they went back to proof of work, it would probably be unique again. But hey, the fees are lower on Ethereum. Everybody was complaining about the fees. They made some upgrades. The fees are super low now, again, like they used to be. Still, the token is down. So I don't
think
know.
with see something that you don't see with Bitcoin is you don't have to worry about competitors.
Yeah.
But yeah, but with Ethereum, I mean, you guys got tons of competitors, and the moment that there was something else that got a little bit more interesting, a little bit shinier, and speculators saw potential more upside, then it's like, well, okay, they're doing good stuff on Ethereum, but it's not as shiny as the other thing, and so I think that's probably the primary reason.
True, and yet the main competitor is Solana, and Solana's also in the toilet. It's not doing well. It's like $130. I mean, it topped out $130. It first hit that price over a year ago. I think it was in January 24 they first got to 130. So even Solana's not doing so well. In fact, my timing model has suggested that both Ethereum and Solana have already topped out, which is why the view on the altcoins, I should have mentioned that. The reason I don't think there's going to be altcoins is my model is already saying some of these have topped out for the cycle. Ethereum has topped out, probably. I mean, the model can be wrong, but I do trust my model. It is saying Solana topped out. Ethereum has topped out. I mean, for the 4-year cycle, they're not coming back. Not this cycle. Why? Why are they so weak? This has never happened before. I have never seen major altcoins top out ahead of Bitcoin during a crypto bull market. So I do think this time is different. I'm seeing things I've not seen before. I've been in this space already for almost 10 years, 9 years in this space. I'm seeing things now that I've not seen before. It kind of bothers me a little that a lot of people don't have the I guess the honesty, intellectual honesty to say, hey, it is different. It is maybe they believe they drink their own Kool-Aid, that they don't think it's different. I can point to objective metrics as a psychoanalyst to say, yeah, look at these things. They are different. Bitcoin's rallies weaker than ever. Bitcoin's corrections longer than ever. So the corrections are longer than ever. Longer, I don't mean more in terms of price. Yeah, it's about the same. If you look at price, it's about the same. If you look at the duration of these, you know why they feel so bad, Max? It's not because Bitcoin's down 20%. It's because it tops out in March, and by August, it's still going down. It's still making new lows. And it doesn't go down much. That's great. But it does go down for a long time. That's what's different. When people say, oh, a 30% correction, we've seen those before. Those used to take place in about 2 or 3 weeks. Now they take 4 or 5 months. Not only that, the rally coming out of those lows, it used to be 300, 400%. Now it's 100%, and it takes longer. So that's what's different. And the altcoins don't get me started on the altcoins. I mean, we're just not seeing, which, by the way, rightly so, because most of this stuff is garbage. I think it makes sense for Bitcoin to continue to go up. I think Bitcoin is a proxy for liquidity. If liquidity growth is bad, Bitcoin's price growth is also bad. So I'm not really worried about Bitcoin. But the altcoins, I don't know. Because the money printing is coming back. That's going to be a catalyst for future Bitcoin booms. But the altcoins are different. I'm more worried about the altcoins, to be honest, than Bitcoin itself. I think you're fine if you're a long-term investor.
So okay, you're into Bitcoin. You do think Bitcoin's going to between 150 and 200 this cycle. What time of year are you seeing that's kind of where it hits? When's the top in Bitcoin?
Q4. I mean, my model says I have a new model that makes forecasts. I'm still testing it out, but it's pretty accurate. And it's showing potential highs like, starting in late October throughout November. So if I had to guess, I would say probably November. It could be as early as like October 20th. But probably in November. But give it it's give or take a couple months. It could be October, it could be December. I think it's going to be November because that's what the model is showing, but there is a margin of error there. But what I've not seen before from this model is highlighting a whole month as a potential high. So I'm thinking, okay, if the whole month of November is highlighted as a potential for your high, then it's got to be in November. That's what I'm thinking now, at least.
Okay. All right. Good to know. So what's the summer like? Does it come across just slowly, or do we get a little run now before summer, have a lull in summer, and have a second kind of full rally?
If you press me on that, I would say I think it could be a good summer, actually, unlike most summers. I think the lull is now. It ends probably around May, which is unlike anything we've seen this before, but typically May is slow. I think I think Bitcoin starts to firm up in May and probably begins to rally between June and November. But again, we'll talk between now and then, and I may change that outlook. I'm not super convinced. I do think, however, that since the bottom is likely in now, these bottoms take a while to form. They take a couple of months. So if the bottom first low is in March, probably have another low in April, in May, and then from there we bottom out. We start to climb slowly in the summer, maybe June, July are slow. It should begin to heat up in August, though, and between August and November, I think is the best time to be involved in the market. That would be my outlook.
Okay, awesome. All right, Juan, great chatting to you. Let's do this more regularly now that we're both back. And yeah, guys, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you soon. Take care.